No bodies, no graves, no sign of a fight. The houses had been pulled apart plank by plank and carried away. A wooden wall now circled the empty ground, built against a threat that never came, or one that already had. 115 people had built a life on this island. Every one of them was gone. And the only thing they left behind was a single word carved into a fence post. Not a cry for help, just a name. The man staring at that empty settlement had crossed an ocean to save these people. One of them was his own granddaughter, a little girl who had just turned 3. Her name was Virginia Dare, the first English child ever born in the Americas. He had sailed home for supplies and come back to rescue a colony. Instead, he was standing in a ghost town, holding the one clue they left him. A word that could mean they were safe, or that they were dead. This is the mystery of the Lost Colony of Roanoke. And 4 centuries later, we still can't say for certain where they went. Go back 3 years to 1587. England wants a foothold in the New World, and Sir Walter Raleigh sends roughly 115 men, women and children to build one. They land on Roanoke Island off what is now North Carolina, a thin, storm-battered edge of the continent. Their leader is John White, their governor and also the expedition's artist. His delicate watercolours are nearly all we have left of that first fragile world. And almost from the start, the colony is in trouble. Food is short, and an earlier, harsher English expedition has already given some of the local nations every reason not to trust these newcomers. Then, in the middle of all that fear, one bright moment. On the 18th of August, 1587, White's daughter gives birth to a baby girl, Virginia Dare, christened in a land her family had known for barely a month. But a newborn is another mouth to feed, in a colony already running out of everything. So the settlers make a hard choice. Someone has to sail back to England for help, and that someone is White. White doesn't want to go. Leaving means abandoning his daughter, his newborn granddaughter, and everyone who trusted him to lead them. But he's the only one who can command supply ships back in England. So before he sails, the colonists give him a plan and a code. If they ever leave Roanoke, they'll carve their destination into a tree or a post, so he'll know where to follow. And if they leave in danger, under attack, in fear for their lives, they'll cut one more mark above it. A cross means something went wrong. No cross means they left in peace. Remember that cross. Everything is about to turn on it. White reaches England and walks straight into a disaster of timing. It's 1588. Spain is about to launch its Great Armada, and Queen Elizabeth seizes every ship that can fight. There is nothing to spare for a struggling colony an ocean away. So White waits. 1 year, then 2, then 3. Every day he's trapped in England is another day his family stands alone on Roanoke, watching the horizon for a sail that never comes. When he finally finds passage back, 3 years have passed. He doesn't know it yet, but he is already far too late. The 18th of August, 1590, his granddaughter's 3rd birthday. John White steps back onto Roanoke Island. He calls out. He has a trumpet sounded and familiar English songs played so his people will know it is friends and not enemies. Nothing answers but the wind. He searches the ground for a body, for a grave, for any sign of the end. There is nothing. The settlement is simply deserted. The houses are gone, not burned, not smashed, but carefully taken apart and carried off. Where 115 people once lived, there is only that ring of timber, and silence, and then his eye catches the carving on the post. There it is, cut clean into the wood. Croatoan on a nearby tree, 3 more letters. CRO, and White's heart lifts, because now look again at the post. Look at what is not there, no cross, no distress mark, no second carving above the name. By their own code, the code he made them swear to, that one absence changes everything. They did not run. They were not dragged off in the night. They left calmly on their own terms, and they told him exactly where they had gone. Croatoan wasn't a riddle. It was a forwarding address. All White had to do now was reach it. Croatoan was a real place, an island to the south known today as Hatteras, and it was home to the one people who had stayed friendly to the English. They were the community led by a man named Manteo. Manteo had sailed to England and back himself, and he knew both worlds well, so it made sense. A starving colony, no relief in sight, moving toward the neighbours who could actually feed them. White was maybe 50 miles of coastline from finding every last one of them alive. 50 miles, one short voyage, he never made it. That night a violent storm swept in off the Atlantic. White's ships lost their anchors in the dark, and the crew's hired sailors, not colonists with no stake in this errand, refused to risk the shoals again. They turned the bows east, back toward England, and White could only watch the coastline shrink and disappear, his family's forwarding address sliding away behind him. He would spend the rest of his life trying to return. He never did, and with him sailed the last Englishman who ever had a real chance of finding the colony. So what actually happened to them? The likeliest answer is also the quietest one. They did exactly what the carving said. They split up, and over the years they were absorbed into the Croatoan on Hatteras and into other nations further inland. Later colonists would report native families with English features and English words generations on, and the ground is starting to agree. Digs on Hatteras have turned up English rings and tools, and at a site inland, hidden tellingly, beneath a patch glued onto one of White's own maps, archaeologists have found Elizabethan pottery. The picture taking shape is not 100 people vanishing all at once. It is a colony coming apart into pieces, and each piece quietly finding a way to live. This was not a vanishing. It looks like a scattering, but likeliest is not proven, and the other doors never fully shut. Some believe the colonists tried to sail home in a small boat and the sea took them. Years later at Jamestown, the powerful leader Powhatan was said to have claimed he'd had a group of English settlers killed, though that account is second-hand and heavily disputed. Disease, starvation, a slow death somewhere inland, all of it is still possible. And the famous Dare stones, carved rocks that surfaced in the 1930s claiming to reveal the ending, are almost certainly a hoax. Every clean answer so far has a crack running through it, so here is what we know for certain. 115 people built a home at the edge of the world and then stepped off the edge of the record. They left one calm word behind them, and no cross. They were almost certainly not taken. They most likely walked on their own 2 feet into a new life we simply never got to watch. But almost has held for 430 years. We have a governor's paintings, a name carved in wood, pottery in the soil, and still not one grave, not one certain face. So what do you think that word really was, a fresh start or a farewell? Tell me in the comments, and I'll see you in the next unsolved case.